Hi everyone. Shalom. How are we today? I am very happy to be here. Thank you, Yossi, Google, Tel Aviv Municipality, and all of you for coming. I don't have enough time, so I want to use the time that I have. I also know you have 4 sessions, so you're going to get very busy and very tired. And I'd really want to be like the best speaker and be like the top moment of this event. The problem is I'm first. So if I start high and the event's going to go low, not good. So I don't know if I want to be the best or, you want to steep from here. I don't know. So I really want to add value. I have 30 minutes. I want to drop everything I have. Then we'll do some Q&A, right? 20 minutes. All right. So these slides are part of a presentation called, What did you do, Yossi? Again.
Not much.
Sababa. Okay, so these slides are part of a presentation called Hacking the New World of Work, which is entirely online on my website. The video is on YouTube, so you're more than happy to check it out over there. Here's what I want to do. I want to very briefly tell you who I am. So we'll start with an introduction. Then what I want to do is talk briefly about the world of work today, because the world of work out there is very different than the one we have been prepared to. And this is relevant for you as founders. This is relevant for you and as Olim. This is relevant for you as professionals in today's world of work. So we want to do that. Then what I want to do is give you the punchline. So Yossi spoke about Tachlis, Dugri, getting to the bottom line. So I want to give you my bottom line. And then what I want to do is tell you, what the hell does that bottom line mean? All right. And then what we're going to do is, I want to give you the key takeaway that you should take from this talk. So that's my plan. Is that okay? Yes. Great. Yalla, let's go. So in a nutshell, my name is Assaf Luxembourg. I'm 35 years old, born and raised here in Israel, and this is me. And my scratch in life, my passion, my mission, my grit, my whatever you want, I am all about these 3 things. So promoting Israel through business, the future of the Jewish people, showing the real face of Israel to the world. These are things that are in my heart. When I was young, I actually wanted to be an ambassador, the farthest away from entrepreneurship as you can probably get, because this is government. So what I did after the book Startup Nation came out, I started getting a lot of invitations, since I was working in the government with ambassadors, to do a boatload of this. Assaf, do you want to meet students from Harvard here in Israel? Do you want to talk to business people from Argentina? Tell them about how to do business here. Investors who started coming here, entrepreneurs from all over the world. All of these people started coming. And I wanted to be an ambassador. Now, the people who brought these delegations back when I was young, they offered me no pay. So what do you think I said? Yes. Of course, internship. That's how you get known. Because if I want to be an ambassador, I want to do the work before I apply for the school that will teach me how to do the work. Make sense? Great. Then I turned 30, and you know what happens when you're 30. Some of you know the big crisis. And as you can see, I am not an ambassador. So my plan failed. And by then, I used to do already a lot of this and consulting, and I was very immersed in this industry of business tourism in Israel, Birthright, Masa, business delegations, you name it. And I told all the people I worked with, guys, I'm out. And they wanted more, so they told me, but we'll pay you. And I told them, but I don't know how to charge you. And that's how my business was born. The last thing I wanted to do is to become an entrepreneur. When I started, the word freelancer to me, from a cultural perspective, meant plumber, someone who can't find a job, that doesn't get along in the system. Today, it's the new cowboy. So that's a little bit about my story. Briefly, what I do is I provide a lot of content services for people that come to Israel from all over the world. I do a lot of consulting for startups and other companies. And the third thing is what I want to talk to you about, because I do a lot of empowerment with young professionals today about the new world of work. So yada, yada, yada. I help a lot of young professionals from all over the world, and a lot of people who make aliyah to Israel to think like an entrepreneur, not just as someone who wants to start a startup, but also for their careers. And that's what I want to talk to you about. So, that's my other business, no time for that. I already know a little bit about you, so we don't need to spend more time on this, because Yossi did it for me. So let's get to it. As you probably know, and I don't need to tell you, we live in times of change, right? So that's a very nice slogan. I can put these two photos on the slide here. These are two revolutions. One of them you studied about in high school. The other one you are living through right now, right? The Industrial Revolution, the Information Revolution. Now they have something in common. Our great-grandparents didn't say every day, boy, we live through a technological revolution. But their lives changed dramatically from the time they were kids to the time they were grown-ups. Technology moved fast, and the culture really changed following that technology back then, just like today. So technology advances fast, but people move slower, so culture has to adapt. Back then, who were the cowboys? The people, who were the heroes? The people who went to the new world because they wanted to be like those cowboys, to go all the way west to the new frontier to look for gold. Did most of them find gold? No, most of them never made it to California or Peru, right? But boy, the stories about the people who struck it rich. And believe me, they raised money from some banks in Europe and in Boston, and they went west, and the odds were like 1 to 1,000. But they were the heroes of the time. Sounds familiar? Who are the heroes today? Startup entrepreneurs, right? Yeah. Do most of them make exits? Do most venture capitalists make their money back with ROI per investment? No, it's the same thing, just a different era. So that's a cultural disruption. Startup entrepreneurs were not necessarily cool in the 80s. Wall Street was. They may not be cool 20 years from now. But there's also constructural disruption, and that's what I want you to think about. The world of work changes slowly. This is tectonic changes, and it's not something which is like a fashion that moves away and comes back. So let's look a little bit about the world of work we live through today, which is very different than the one you were sold to in school and university. I don't need to tell you it's not about jobs anymore. It's about careers. We'll see what that means. Things you used to think are not important because they're variables. They become the new constants. Things you thought are important become variables. We'll see what that means. Today it's all about the value of your reputation, more than in the past, I would claim. So we'll see what that says. Let's use an example. Anybody here is a lawyer? Went to law school?
In law school.
You're in law school. Get out. No, I'm kidding. Let's take a lawyer. Once upon a time, if you wanted to be a lawyer, you have to go and study in a law school, right? Then you have to go and work in a law firm, suits, right? Great. And you gain expertise as a lawyer. So you become a master in your job, which is law. So it makes sense the employer-employee relationship is sacred marriage. And people used to ask people, where do you work? Today, it's not really like that. I mean, you still have to go to law school, right? But what you really do is you acquire skills. Then you also go to a law firm. But you actually join a community or a specific business network. Say, in the real estate department as a lawyer. And then you work with real estate companies, real estate developers, real estate investors. You're not in law, you're in real estate. So you become a master in real estate, not necessarily as a lawyer. So it makes sense 2 years later you go to work in a real estate company. 2 years after that you go to work in a real estate investment trust. You are building a career in real estate with legal skills. People don't ask people so often, where do you work? They ask, what do you do? So that's structural change. And that change is getting faster, so buckle up. So these are Deloitte numbers. So almost half the jobs that exist today will be gone in 10 years. Kids his age, they are going to work in jobs that are not invented yet. So there's that. Here's the one that people talk about a lot, and that number is already at 50% today, according to what people say. Half of US workforce are going to become freelancers very soon, meaning in the next 20 years. So that's coming up, and suddenly freelancer becomes the new cowboy, so culture adapts, and yada yada, and so on and so forth. That's the World Economic Forum. Their recent report, one of them last year, was about the future of work. They stated this. So they say that now it's our responsibility as employees to take control of our own career development. So that's the World Economic Forum saying that. And the meaning of that is that your career is not the sequence of the jobs you had. I worked here, then I worked there, then I did this, then I went to work there. That's not a career. It's a sequence of jobs. Just like chair, English, 3, blue, and piano is not a sentence. It's just a bunch of words. So what is a career today? Well, all the fluffy stuff you thought is variables and they're not important, they become the new constants. Meaning, without them, you will have a hard time navigating yourselves through the ladders. As locals, as immigrants, anywhere in the developed world. So that's the world we live in today. So what does that mean, Assaf? Well, I believe there's one specific thing that we can take from that understanding, that at least as someone who works with a lot of people from this community, I see that people who embrace that thought succeed faster. So I'm not a career expert. I'm not a researcher of the world of work. I'm just another Bedouin in the desert, just a few miles ahead of you maybe. So here's what's working for other Bedouins. I believe that what we can derive from this world of work is that in today's world, you and you and you and Yossi and the staff here at Google and me, we are all business units. What does that mean? Well, it means that we need to think as if you are individually the owner and CEO of You Incorporated, You LLC, You Ba'am. Business units, businesses, well, they need to produce a certain output, and against it, they charge input. So they have to make sure that the output is better than the input. You would not buy something that is worth 90 by paying 100. So you have to receive value. Meaning, if you run a business, you have to make sure your outputs are bigger than the inputs. So you give more than you get, for that matter. So business leaders and entrepreneurs and owners, they have to think like business units. I believe that in today's world of work, employees have to think like business units too. Because it used to be your boss's job to make sure that your outputs are bigger than the inputs. In today's world of work, it becomes your responsibility because you're the business. And if you're the business and you're providing those outputs to those who give you the inputs, what does that make them? It means that they are your employer, your boss is your customer. And in business, when you have customers, when you serve your customers, well, you have to make sure they are satisfied, not just get the work they want done. Customers have to be satisfied. They pay for your outputs. Everyone else in the office enjoy your outputs too, so they consume you, consumers. Which is why checking the boxes is not enough anymore. Good morning, boss. What do you need me to do today? Check, check, check. Okay, I got it. Check, check, check. Thank you. Bye. I'm gone. Not a good strategy. to move faster and higher. Also, it means that your employer cannot tell you who you are. And here's something you probably heard before. I'm looking for a job where I would be meaningful and part of a team and feel like family, and I could thrive and do something that is important so I could fulfill myself and yada, 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 and me, and what I want. So I want my boss to show me that I can promote in this job and that there's a future for me. It's not your boss's responsibility to do all that. You're looking to purchase self-fulfillment by looking for a job. You need to think like businesses. What do you give before what do you charge in return? So you need to know who you are, what do you offer, and why, and to who, and how. You can't consume self-fulfillment. You have to create it. Know where you want to be in the future and storytell that to the people around you, your employer included. Give them a vision they want to be a part of, which is why they want you close to them. That's why this is important more than ever. So all of these things are important. And I promise you, all these slides are on my website. So you can take photos. You can also find them online later. So think like businesses. Think like entrepreneurs, especially if you want to start a company. It starts with here. So Assaf, that's very nice. Give us an example, right? How is this thinking, the strategy, how does it work? So I have many examples, but I don't have time. So what I did starting 2 years ago, 3 almost, is to take almost all of my best advice, those that work for 80% of the people, 80% of the time, in 80% of the cases, and I started publishing them for free. So if you go to Times of Israel, I operate a blog. It's also on LinkedIn, so you're more than welcome to find many of these practical tips over there. I want to share 2. One for people who look for a job, and 90% of startup founders will look for a job, probably even more. My best advice, given that understanding of the world of work, is don't just look for a job. Do what businesses do. Biz dev. Lawyers don't sell their portfolio to a lot of their friends saying, hey, I need new customers. If you know anybody who is looking for a lawyer, could you please pass my portfolio? Because people will just delete that email. So why do we do it with our CVs? I'm looking for a job. I'm looking for my next opportunity, my next adventure. You'll know these taglines on LinkedIn. Don't just do that, and don't just apply for jobs. How do businesses get customers, especially in services like lawyers, accountants, and consultants? Here's what they do. They don't just spray the hill. They actually think, who do we want as customers? They map those top 10 companies. They find the relevant decision makers online. They reach out to them, and they actually build relationships. They understand what's important for them, and then they sell them. You should do the same with your careers. Who do we want to serve as customers, and how do we build a relationship? How do we find their pain, and how do we sell them, even if they're not hiring? Last tip before I summarize, for those of you who want to get promoted. So that's for those who feel stuck in the office. This is your office. I don't believe in office politics. It's just market dynamics. This is you in your comfort zone. This is your boss in his or her comfort zone. These are your colleagues. And you know what's in between? The gray. Stuff that nobody else wants to do. Some of it is junk. Some of it is pure opportunity. You want to get promoted? What you should do is increase the outputs and then charge more inputs. Not do the same work faster and better. Do more things that are relevant for the decision makers. Find the gold in the gray, take control of it, and then come and show that you bring more output, so you should get more input, just like sales. So these are 2 examples. More of them are online. My time is running out, so I want to wrap up with what I believe is the most important advice. And again, a lot more of this is online. So what is the key takeaway? What do businesses do when they need to strategize ahead? They go to a company called McKinsey or others. They pay them a lot of money. And what they want is a clear-cut plan for how should we position ourselves to maximize our success in our industry. Here's the problem. You can't hire McKinsey for you incorporated. So you have to think like a business. So what I advise you to do is do what McKinsey do, which is a 2x2 matrix. And that's what you should do with your ventures as well. You put unique here and valuable over here, and you get 4 zones. The no market zone, what Guy Kawasaki calls the bozo zone, and most people are here in the price zone, and this is, of course, the unicorn zone. And that's my final message to you, because you are Olim at the end of the day. How do we get here? Thing is, school, experience, most of the other things bring us to compete here. Our education, our skills, our experience, our network, that makes you valuable. But if you're not unique, you are doomed to compete on price, salary. How do you move from here to here? And that's exactly how you turn your disadvantage into an advantage, by thinking like an entrepreneur. You have something that locals don't. They have a lot of things you don't have because they're local, but you have something that I don't have. You come from someplace else. So you could be a better and faster lawyer or accountant or founder than Yossi, Dani, and Moshe out there. But they don't come from Brazil, they don't come from Argentina, they don't come from the US, they don't come from Russia. And you have cultural assets that can bring you here, which is your global perspective. It's not the English, it's knowing how to write the email and when to send it. It's understanding what the other person is trying to tell us culturally, which is what for Israelis is sometimes very hard. So you can get a job as a developer, or you can get a job as a developer and also help in the marketing department, because you come from there and you know the customer's world. That's unique and valuable. Use your assets. One of the posts in my blog is called Olim's Value in Mitigating Culture, which is exactly about that. That is my best advice for you. Think like businesses. Think like entrepreneurs in today's new world of work. Thank you.